All right, we're going to do our chickens. So you can kind of extend the feathers in the back if you want to make them roosters, and change the giblet parts to be bigger. We're gonna jump in and we're gonna use some really bright colors. So those hens were actually brown and white, and they had kind of dark on the top and light underneath. But I just want to switch it up because I just want them to be, I don't know, more colorful and have a bit more personality. So I put a little bit of water in my plate there, and now I'm mixing up a little bit of red birch. And then I'm going to grab some lemon. This is going to be nice and bright. I'm going to add that in there and just kind of get a few colors ready. So next one I will get is the glacier green. And then we'll go right into Prussian there. So it's kind of like a, not the super brightest blue, but it's like a really solid blue. So I've got 4 colors on my plate right now. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some water. So I'm really just dabbing my water. See how I've got my brush as a wand? That helps me from making it really uniform. Just kind of wiggles it around and it's very organic. And then I'm going to throw in some red birch. So the red birch I thought would be nice because it's kind of like a good color to mix with the Prussian. It turns a nice gray. And then I'm slapping in some glacier green. This is going to be a blown up background. I just really want some color around those birds. I'm going to be mindful to keep my yellow, kind of try to keep these colors separate. I wouldn't necessarily jam it into the red birch. I just want them to kind of flow. And then of course, once you get them on here, you can pick up your paper and let it kind of move around. So this will just kind of create some more interest in the bottom there. So I'm keeping my red birch maybe underneath my bird's feet because that might be like that dirt part, and then pick it up a bit and let them roll around. Any extra water just pull off with a paper towel and then let it dry. Okay, I actually slipped away and I blue dried my paper on both sides, and now we've got a nice light washed out background. So I'm going to start with the mushroom cap red. This is really close to rosy, this one. I modified it this time, and I think I kind of like it brighter next time, but we're going to go with this because it's going to work great. And I'm going to jump right into that little flap of skin below the beak there. And just paint that in. I do leave like a few marks where you can see through. It's always good to, don't just paint it all flat, but if you can leave gaps here and there, little tiny holes that show the background through, then it really looks impressive that way. So up to the top of the head there and paint that section in. I like to start with the red right off the get-go because it's kind of like the opposite color to the greens on here. So your complementary color, and it will kind of give you a base point. This painting is going to go through a real like awkward stage before we get to pull it out and finish it. So just know that it's going to get ugly before it gets nice. I think I like that about painting yeah, it's everything in life is kind of like a masterpiece, right? And you got these awkward stages, but at the end of the day, you just keep pushing through and you will wind up where you need to be. Okay, I've added carrot into the red, and I'm just gonna go ahead and paint in some of the feet here. So just deviated that color, and just go ahead and plop it into the claw feet on your chickens. Oh, I did grab Prussian blue that was slightly on the plate down below, and I'm adding it just to the bottom of the feet. So Prussian blue at the bottom. And if you find that it took over your colors, grab your little 1/4 inch flat bright brush and just smooth it out. Like, use a lifting technique to control it. I'm also going to tap some Prussian blue right down below and just squiggle it in there. So you don't want to go over all of the orange that you put down, but you do want to have some darkness in there, like it's got, creases and wrinkles and kind of scaly bits in the bird's feet. So really loosely going in, doing the same thing to the top one. You'll see that I put way too much blue in there. So I'm going to suck it up with my brush. So I took a little detail brush, and I am just I keep cleaning my brush off on my paper towel and getting rid of excess paint. And then I'm using my 1/4 inch bright to kind of soften that out a bit more. See, there we go. I'm going to move that plate over so you can see the blue. Now I'm going to use the blue just ever so slight in the eye. So I just sort of dotted it in. We'll work those eyes more. Okay, getting the glacier green ready. That is just on the corner of my plate, and it is about, these are the mixes, the consistency of, I want to say whole milk. So I'm just going to go in and get crazy here and do some lines on the tail. And I'm going to come in and go under the belly with this green, a little bit up top. Now you see how I'm not painting over all of it, and you see how I'm kind of going with the form of the bird. You can go totally crazy with this, but show some of the background. And we're going to put some other colors up top. So really just want some green here and there. I'm getting some red birch. And I'm going to throw in, just adding like a little bit more green down there. I did some yellow too. So I do have yellow down below. And I've added that blue, so I'm coming in beside the green. The green is still a little wet, so it's mingling a little bit, but I do have a bit of control, so the blue's not taking over all of the green. And then I'm coming in and going down the leg. So blue is also a shadow color, blues and purples. And I'm just going to start to fill in the bird. So think of feathers, think of the way the feathers would form on the bird, and then just brush them in. Go for it. I give you permission to go nuts. Okay, getting some more carrot there. And I'm throwing that orange in, so really pretty bright orange. I'm going to bring it down through the bird here, give it that color. Be very careful you're not putting it into your blues, and because they'll turn black at this point. So you kind of want to keep the orange away from the other colors. And I'm doing some sort of circular marks up the bird, and I'll bring it a little bit down, knowing that this is going to be gray when I hit that blue. And we'll see how I can put it some in the feathers here. And right down below. And then up the side of the head. And I'm doing some squiggly little lines in here. So really kind of watch my faint lines. The brush is not, like I'm using just the point of the brush to get some like lines in. And making sure you can see the background that has already been laid down on this bird here. Okay, so we got lots of beautiful colors on the bird, and we're gonna push it to that awkward stage. Okay, I'm just getting, let's see, we got the birch, and I'm mixing up, it was red, so that was the mushroom cap with the Prussian blue. And that made a nice gray. So what you're after is gray, and that was the mushroom cap with the Prussian blue to get a nice gray. And now I'm just kind of watering down the red there to get pink. And I'm going to put that right here in the head. So I'm just kind of wiggling it in just to see how that looks. And we're going to build up these layers. So we're just layering down first layer. And I will do this sometimes. I'll put like a really light layer down and then dab it up if I'm not sure about it, I'm thinking about it. That's where watercolors are very versatile. So if it's wet, you can dab it up quick. You know, you can push past that. So now I'm mixing the Prussian blue and the glacier green. Got a nice teal, and I'm just going to town on the bird up top. Same idea, kind of go with the form of the bird. See how I've got my little strokes going down. And then around here I have the carrot, and just kind of drag it down. Put some of it into that blue because I know the two will make gray, and I'm just going to throw a little bit up top in the back, I know where his back is, and jumping around between the two. So I'm really just trying to enrich the colors without muddying them. So be cognizant of what colors you're putting on top of each other. That is really the thing that will screw you up with chickens. So make sure that you understand what the colors are going to do if you hit them together. Like I would not put red on a green. You know, I would, unless they were dry and you could get right beside it. Or if you were trying to work to push it towards a gray. So opposite colors will turn dark colors. They'll turn grays. You want to keep those guys away from each other. Okay, we're going to let this dry. Okay, we're going to start working past this kind of flat, awkward stage here. I've cleaned up my palette. I'm getting glacier green ready. And let's see, I've got some Persian. I'm making a teal because that just seems to be like really pretty color to use in a chicken. And then let's see, I know it's off camera here, but I'll let you know which one it is. Okay, I'm going to twist that over here. And I believe what we have is just straight up black. Yeah. So, okay, I'm going to go in with my teal. I'm going to add a little bit of detail into the feathers with my smaller brush. So I'm using like a number 1 brush. If you got a good tip on your number 4 brush, just be careful, use the end of that. And just sort of adding a little bit of depth in here. So coming in with that teal below the green and just adding darkness. So keep some areas light and keep some areas dark, like there's a shadow there. And then I'm going to wiggle that color in underneath some of these feathers. This is what creates your shadows. So you can see where I'm just sort of adding it in below the curves of those plumes of feathers. That will kind of separate the wing from some of the other areas here. And then I want to drag it down into the leg and have that come forward. And then we'll scrunch a little bit over on this leg here. And underneath some of the feet again, if you like that. So go underneath the feet. That will just add shadows under the foot. Okay, I'm wiggling some of this up top. So we're just using our darks to get in here. So I'm working my way into the orange now. You can see really how I'm using my brush here. Just random wiggles, these spots, adding shadows, giving this bird more and more depth. Okay, it's kind of looking pretty good there. I think I could use a little bit of darkness, a little touch up top. And then I'm going to grab my palette and I'm going to get red birch, because I'm getting red birch because number 1, it's going over top of the yellow and the orange, and so it would be really standoutish if I had used the teal. So I just want a slightly different darker than the color I had down. Now I'm just coming in and I'm using red birch as my shadow color. Okay, we got lots of good lines in here. We can still see lots of our background through. Grabbing some lemon. I'm just going to punch this up with a little bit of that lemon in here, just kind of layering that on top. It'll be a really subtle change to the bird. So just touch it in here and there, however it feels good to you. Then I have some mushroom cap red, and I am going to go in and add a little bit more red to the flesh on the top head piece, and again underneath. And then I got to think about his face. So they do have like a pinky area fleshy area on their face. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to use that red. It's watered down to like 1%. You can see it's pretty thin on my palette over there. And I'm just going to go ahead and add that. And then I'm going to touch a little bit of the gray back into the beak. So now the gray was made from the teal mixed with a little bit of the red birch. So that as long as you get like a darker gray, you'll be fine. And now I've got some lovely orange. I'm going to slide that in. So my feathers had dried over there, and I'm going to rip in some orange and some red with my flat brush. Just going to be really nice and sporadic about it. Just added that extra bit of boosted color. I'm going to use the red in here too. Again, I'm using my little flat bright brush, that like 1/4 inch bright. And the same here with the orange. So really just kind of touching up the color. Now you can easily overdo your birds this way. So you have to be careful to know when to stop, right? So make sure that you still see some lights on them. If it's got some color on it, we can adjust that if it's too much. But you just want to kind of make sure you've got separation to some degree in your color and that you have some shadows in there. And I'm just going to put in some touches on the feet, give them some claws with that black that I had down below. It was just ever so touch of black on there. Okay, so back up here to the top, I have more teal on my brush, and I'm just kind of adding it in here to see if I like it for shadows. And I think it's okay, but it's gonna need to be babysat. So I'm sucking it up with a dry brush. I'm moving that around a bit. And drying off my brush. I cleaned it, dried it off. And now I'm going to use my flat brush. Now this is a lifting technique, so if you went too crazy with your color, now you're like, oh no, what am I going to do? Well, you clean off that brush, scrub out some sections, wipe it off on your paper towel, and always go back in with a clean damp brush to fix up any areas. So this is really useful for blending and yeah, lots of things. If you make a mistake, you can just get in there with this technique of lifting and do a lot of fixing. Of course, this won't work if your colors are totally staining. If your colors are staining and they won't come up, then, well, you're gonna be kind of stuck. Some of these colors that we are using today are staining, but they're staining in the right ways. So the red, we want that to stay down. And then, of course, the blues, they'll come up. The brighter the color, typically, the more staining it is. So it comes down to the type of pigment it is. And of course the brightest colors are more of a man-made pigment. And so yeah, they can stain. Okay, pushing past a lot of these awkward spots. I'm just adding highlights to the rooster's gizzard and the top. I want to call it a horn, but it's not horns. But just lifting some highlights out in the red there. And then coming in here, adding a little bit of highlights by lifting out some of the rooster chicken tail. The bigger the tail, the more obvious it is that it's a rooster. And if it's like a little shorter tail, and more often it is a chicken. Okay, there we go. More coal black. I'm just going to add a touch of it up here because I want to get in there and get the eye. Now, here's the thing with the eye. Always leave like a bit of a gleam in the eye, so don't paint it everywhere. You want like spots of white to show through where you did not paint it. Then I'm deepening the beak with some more, actually it's like the red with the teal mix because that made a nice dark, so the mushroom cap with that teal mix. And now I am using teal with the red birch. So that is the of course the green mixed with the Perusian, and then we added the red birch, and I needed a shadow, underneath the bird, and this will prevent the bird from looking like he's floating. So just drafting it in there, I put some color in, and then I just used nothing but water to soften those edges. So then we need to dry this. Oh, these birds, they can be a lot of work. So this video, of course, is a lot longer, and I've sped it up like 2 times, but take your time doing it. So we're just going into the second bird in the back, and I'm using carrot to go right in and hit the top part there, just giving it some more dimension. Now, because this bird is, see, there's more orange in the tail, and coming down here with a little bit of red, and then some of that dark color that I mixed up for the beak. So that was the teal with the red birch. You don't have to make the bird in the back as detailed because typically things are off in the distance or more blurry. So this bird can be a lot looser than the bird in the front. So just getting some glacier green straight up so that I can get in here on the bird's tail and add little green plumes to the feather area. Again, I'm using my little detail brush and jump in between the green and the teal mix there. So really loose, try not to worry a bunch about this, and always like keep gaps so you can see the underlayers. It will just give you that depth that you need. And then jumping into my red birch dark mix there. Okay, grabbing my 1/4 inch flat brush, and I'm just pulling out a few highlights that I feel that I may have missed. And the same here, needed to put some dark here, so I have some blue and some of that dark mix right there, that purple kind of color that I made with the red birch and the mushroom cap red. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit more dark into the tail feathers on this bird here because it's dry, so I can do that. So this will give it a little bit more detail. Now, if you want to get into each feather and add detail into each feather, you can. I would do that on a larger image where the tail feathers are significantly longer, but these will be fine for now. And then just using a darker kind of color to boost the shadows underneath the foot of that one bird in the back. Okay, starting to come together. I'm going to scrub some highlights out, so you'll see me just using a damp clean brush and wiping it off on a paper towel beside me, which is just down on my lap here, and then coming back up with a detail brush. So now I'm using the Prusia. I've got that on my side here, and it's just nothing but the blue. And just throwing in the shadows there into the feathers. So Prussian blue, and darken it up in the base. There we go. I turn it so you can see my Prussian blue there. Okay, just jumping around here and darkening where I see fit. Just kind of trying to pull out maybe that side feathers on the bird and just add a little bit more interest up here. I've got red too, so I don't know if you can see it right there. It's very slight, but some red that was on my brush. And then again back into my 1/4 inch flat brush and pulling out some highlights. So a whole lot of putting it on, taking it off going on here. This is natural and definitely the easiest way for you to learn how to do these roosters. And you can do them even looser, like later on once you've done this one, you kind of get the idea where you like your colors. I'm taking kind of a dark color here and adding it to my eyes. So take a look at the images and just take a look at the eye on this one rooster that I'll put in here with this. It's got a lot of white space, and that's just that gleam in the eye. So just make sure that you try to leave some white space to get that gleam in the eye, and darken the beaks as needed. So on the face there, I had some red, plus I had a little bit of purple on the face, and I'm adding some darker kind of purple there. So to get to the purple, you need the blue with the red to get that nice purple, and that will give you that nice shadow color. So you see kind of like a pile of blue mix on the side and it's looking kind of purple, and that's what happened there. And then get in and yeah, if you need highlights, just go ahead and pull them out with your brush again. Okay, and just throwing in some details here. So this is purple, and just giving some more kind of scales by dotting some dots into these feet to make them a little bit more realistic. And then here we go, we've got a real mix here. I've got orange in there, and I got red birch, and I got blue, and I got purple. And I'm making kind of a gray because the bird up here needed a shadow. So I wiggled some of that paint in there, and then I'm using nothing but damp brush. So if I had too much water, I would take it and put it off on my paper towel here, and then just soften the edge around that bird's feet so it's like a shadow. Okay, these have dried a little bit again, and now I'm going to just jump in with the last bit of color here. So some more green on the tail feathers, really kind of lost my green, so I'm throwing it back in, and just kind of making sure it shows. These are just the final little bitty details I'm adding in, and then I will sign off on it. Of course, you can pick away as much as you like. This time I've got coal black right on my brush, direct in there, and just touching up the eyes. So again, don't forget you've got a little white speck in there that you just don't paint, and it keeps it nice and white. I'm also adding coal black underneath the feet here for the last bit of shadowing there. So a lot of layers on this one. I'm going to take that blue and sign off on the corner. But really fun one to do, and I hope you enjoyed, and we're going to continue on.